bridges are stronger when built from both sides.
Let's connect.
Let's connect. In the middle.
Hello, and welcome to Building Bridges, a show on the Greensboro Television Network that highlights ways the members of the police and the public can come together. They can connect with each other. I'm your host, Sandra Hughes. On today's program, we'll talk about National Night Out. Now, this is a fun evening throughout the city that has real significance behind it. Let's jump right into it and start talking about it. Joining me now are two people who have a big, broad view of National Night Outs. We welcome Councilwoman Mary Kay Abuzawader. Nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
And also GPD's Deputy Chief James Henson. Welcome to our
Glad to
show.
be here.
Let's start with you and
Yes, ma'am.
give us a little history on National. I think we've heard those words, but where did it come from?
Well, first of all, it's going to be an annual community building campaign that takes place annually, and citizens and police come out and they partner together. And the whole purpose is to make our community safer, and some citizens also refer to it as take our streets back. But again, it's a partnership, and the partnership is to make the community safer and to reduce crime. And oftentimes we do this, or the community do this, by turning on their porch lights. But it is kind of ventured off into cookouts, and I call it oftentimes a reunion, because many people don't get to see each other for quite some time, and then they take this as an opportunity to come out and gather in fellowship. But it originated in 1984 with the National Association of Town Watch. Some people say it started in Chicago, Philadelphia, but it's really kind of unsure where it started, but it was started by concerned citizens coming together and partnering with police.
So it's not just Greensboro.
No, ma'am.
What about North Carolina? Other cities in North Carolina?
Right. We have other communities, other cities, in North Carolina and across the country that participate. I would say there are millions of people that participate and thousands of communities that participate in this event. It's a wonderful event. It's an annual event, and the sole purpose is to fellowship with your neighbors, get to know your neighbors. Police are there, and we want to let everyone know that the main purpose is to reduce crime, build stronger partnerships and relationships so we can strengthen our community.
Sounds like building bridges to me.
Yes, ma'am. Building bridges.
It sure does. Now, being a councilwoman, you get to talk to a lot of residents and citizens about what they like and what they don't like. You tell us from your perspective how important National Night Out is.
National Night Out has pretty much taken on a life of its own in Greensboro. People get so excited about it. I go to a lot of community events and a lot of community watch meetings, a lot of neighborhood associations. And early in the spring, they say, oh, when is National Night Out this year? So it's very exciting, and staff does a wonderful job bringing it all together. And it is so important to our city. It brings together everyone from all backgrounds, all ages, from toddlers to the elderly, all have a good time at National Night Out. You'll see everything from cookouts to hot dog suppers to everything that the community can get involved with. And what it does is it starts building those relationships with the police department. Fire department is included, all of the public safety personnel, and they all come together, and the community gets to see what does our public safety personnel do. And it's just like a big block party all over town, and everyone has a great time. So building those relationships, to me, is one of the most important aspects.
So this is neighborhood by neighborhood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I mean, how does that work? Let's say you live in a particular neighborhood that has a name, so you have to involve the people in that neighborhood?
Yes, ma'am. Take, for example, the residents of Dudley Heights.
Okay.
They will have a particular location where they're going to gather and celebrate. So they would make sure that they put that information out that we're going to be gathering here for National Night Out. And they typically have a cookout, a lot of food, wonderful food, and the residents come there, and then they extend the invitation to the police department. And we go and we fellowship with them. Typically, I try to make at least 10 to 12 so events that night.
In one night?
Yes, ma'am, in one night.
My word. So who's the head person in these neighborhoods that could put all this together?
Well, typically it's the community leader, but the community leader is often assisted by a number of other members of the community. And again, it's the community coming together, working together to really put on this event, because one person can't do it. There are many people that work together to cook the food, to prepare the food, to prepare whatever events they're going to have. Sometimes they'll have a dunking booth. Sometimes they have a band or a choir come. So it takes a lot of planning and working together. So again, it's communities working together to make that community safer and, again, building those bridges.
What seems to be the most popular kind of event for National Night Out?
I would say the hot dog suppers and the activities for children. A lot of them have activities for children, and the McGruff dog for the city police department, the mascot, goes around to quite a few of the events. So I would say the picnic dinners. One thing I wanted to mention, Sandra, too, is that, you know, it might be a certain neighborhood or a certain community watch. But also what I have noticed in the ones I've been to, and I'm pretty much like Chief Henson, I try to go to 10 or 12 each time, is that they may have it for their association or their neighborhood, but they also have been inviting a few of the other neighborhoods around them who may not have established enough in order to have their own. So then what you will see the next year is those other communities establishing community watches or establishing the neighborhood associations so that they can have their own. So it's very exciting to see all this progress.
That sounds like a lot of fun. Now, so are most communities doing it, or just a few? Where does that stand?
I would say we've been doing it now in Greensboro for over 20 years, and we're continuing to grow. We have a large number of communities that are participating in this. We're going to have our kickoff on July the 16th, and it's going to be at Skateland, 3801 North Church Street. So for those communities that have not registered, we encourage them to come out at this particular location. They can register, but that's going to be the kickoff to just kind of lead up to August the 2nd. And we're just excited about it, and we think it's going to be a wonderful time and event.
So can a person who lives in the neighborhood says, I haven't heard anybody in my neighborhood say it, I'm going to go and become the leader. Can they do that?
Yes, they can do that, but again, I would advise them to make sure that they don't already have something established in that community, and if there is something established, work with those individuals that have already started this particular event or whatever's going on in that community. But it's open to all to come and work together, because it's all about the community bonding together so they can make a difference.
So do you see it growing?
Oh, definitely. People are so interested in it. And like I mentioned earlier, you know, starting in the spring, people are asking when I'm out in the community, when is National Night Out? Because they remember it's in August, it's the first Tuesday in August, but you know, they still ask. And then we start getting the information and we transmit that on out to the community, and staff does a wonderful job of doing that as well.
Now, this show is about building bridges, bringing the citizens and the police department together so that we all understand each other, we get along well, and hopefully that prevents crime. Do you think that's happening?
Yes, ma'am, I do, because the better understanding that you have with the citizens, you will understand what their needs are, what their concerns are. And then they will understand what we are faced with on a day-to-day basis, meaning the police. So we're trying to continue to establish those relationships, to build a good rapport with one another so we can be more in tune with what's going on in the community, but also educate the community about what are some of the challenges we're facing, what they can do to work with us to address some of those challenges. So again, it's all centered around neighborhood-oriented policing, because that's where we're at right now.
But isn't it difficult to get citizens to understand what police need to do? I mean, I'm still going around and hearing people say, oh, here comes the police. I mean, you want them to stop doing that, because, but you're not there to scare them, you're there to help them, right?
Well, what we're trying to do is be more engaging and be more understanding, and allowing citizens to express what their concerns are. Oftentimes we as police, we want to talk and we want to keep talking, but we are training our officers to be better listeners. And the more they listen, the more they can take in, and the better responsive they can be to whatever issues they are.
So are you happy with what you're seeing? Here again, we're trying to build bridges. Are you happy with how we're doing that, or how the city is handling that?
Oh, definitely, and I think National Night Out is one of the best ways, because what you have when the community is coming together along with the police, it's much more conversational.
Oh, yes.
It is not where I'm the police officer and you're the resident.
And there's a
This
big
is
line between us.
because, you know, who can not talk sitting down over a hot dog and potato chips?
I sure
So, you know,
Didn't happen to bring one, did you?
and some of the associations have ice cream socials. So you're sitting there and you're sitting around police officers and you start conversations, and that's the way the relationships start. And it's very heartwarming because, you know, when we go to 10 or 12 of these on that night, we can't stay very long, but you can see the interactions. You can see the people talking to the police, and you're wondering what those conversations might come to be later when they start a community watch or they're more involved in their community watch.
So any advice from from both of you as to how neighbors can get this going and gets to the point where they're all working together with the police to, you know, cut out some of the crime in their areas?
Well, I think that, you know, this is the perfect start, and we start it every year, and it tends to grow every year. So I think that shows the success rate right there, that it is helping to start those relationships and building those bridges. I think you will notice that the weeks after a National Night Out, I'm sure there are a lot of more requests for officers to come and speak to their associations, to come and speak to their neighborhoods or churches. You know, starting that outreach, it can only keep flourishing. So it's a wonderful way to get out to the community. And I have to show off the T-shirt.
Okay.
There's the National Night Out
Oh, all
T-shirt
right.
for 2016.
That looks good. Hold it real still. Okay. Yeah. So you keep holding it. Do you think it's working? Do you think you're really reaching out to people?
Yes, ma'am, without a doubt. I see and hear it every day when I go to community meetings myself. We're more engaged. The community is more receptive to police. And they understand many of the challenges that we face, but we also understand many of the things that are going on in their communities as well. And again, we're training our officers to be better listeners, because that's very important for officers to listen to the concerns of the citizens. We can't address your concerns if we're doing all the talking.
Right.
So we're listening more and we're being more responsive.
So as you go about continuing to have more neighborhoods
Yes,
join National Night Out, that surely, I'm not going to say it makes your job easier, but it helps you. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. It helps us because I am a firm believer, along with the rest of the agency, the more in tune the community is to each other, that will help us reduce crime in itself. Because if you know your neighbors and you know your neighborhood, you will know your issues and you will be able to address those along with working with the police.
That sounds great. Now, you are with the city council.
Yes.
So do people talk to you about this, about police-citizen interaction?
Oh, definitely, and also on the Public Safety Committee as chairperson. So I hear a lot of concerns that way, but I think that when you're building those bridges, you know, you need to, as Chief Henson said, you need to listen first. You need to listen to what the concerns are, and as we do that, we can better figure out how to address those concerns and issues. So yes, as a council person, we hear a lot of things that concern our residents, and that's what we are here for, is to listen to those concerns and relay them to the police. And quite often might be a misunderstanding, and that is for the police to handle in their department. We understand that. So you know, all of these things and all of the activities that the police do all year, you know, at the National Night Out, they learn a whole lot about other things that go through the year to help build more relationships and build those bridges.
Now, you mentioned a committee that you are on or head
Yes.
with the city council. What is that?
Public Safety Committee, and that is where concerns that are coming to City Council or things to be voted on, then that comes to the Public Safety Committee first. We also have some other committees of council, and that comes to our committee, and we decide, we vet it, we research it, and decide whether or not to send it on to council.
So when is National Night Out?
It's going to be August 2nd. It's going to be the first Tuesday in August every year, and we're looking forward to the event. I think
Does
it's
it
going to be great.
start at a certain time, or can neighbors decide?
Well, you know, some of the events may start at 3 p.m. That's really up to the organizers of that particular community, but generally they start at about 5 p.m. and they end at around 10 p.m.
So if our viewers want to know more about National Night Out, other than what they've heard today, or to just repeat what they've heard today, where do they go?
Well, they can contact the Office of Community Engagement at 336-373-2636.
Say that again slowly.
Okay, I'm sorry, 373 2636.
Okay.
And they can get more information there, or of course, they can go on the internet.
On the
and look us
internet
up
where?
At Greensboro-gov, PD.
Okay, and look for search for National Night
Right.
Out.
Just plug in the Greensboro Police Department and then go through your prompts and you'll see National Night Out and go from there.
Well, it sounds good. And so you encourage them to do that, I'm sure.
Oh, definitely, definitely. It's wonderful, and the more neighborhoods that can sign up, you know, the better we make Greensboro safer, so it's all worth it.
So how are the two of you going to get to go by more than 12?
Oh, that's our secret. That's our
nights?
secret.
Well, warp speed.
That's right. No speeding.
No,
speeding.
we don't speed.
Yeah. But I mean, honestly, could you get to more than what you're doing now?
I try to get there 10 to 12.
10 to 12. I tried one year 15, and it was a little hard.
Oh, gosh, I can
Yeah.
imagine, especially if they're all in different sections of town.
And the communities are so happy to see their officers come by and their community leaders, so
I'm
it's
sure
wonderful.
they are. That's right. I mean, you don't want you don't want to see the police coming and think, oh, gosh, what's happened?
Exactly.
You'd rather say, come have a hot
You're
dog.
Right, you're right. And I've already gotten about 8 invites. How many have
Invites,
you
we
gotten?
get we get specific invitations, and let me tell
Yeah.
you what,
And if you don't
if
come,
we don't go,
they'll be
we're
a
in
little
trouble.
upset with you.
Uh-oh, no
Yes.
hot dogs for you. Well, Mary Kay, thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Jim Benson, thank you very
All
much
right.
for being with
All
us.
right.
And I hope you have a wonderful August 2nd
Yes.
night out.
Thank you so much.
very much. Well, following a short break, we'll return to our show and meet two neighborhood leaders who have already organized National Out events and a community resource officer who has seen a few NNO's event in his time. Stay with us. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Building Bridges, a monthly show that brings together police officers and community members to make our city safer. I'm your host, Sandra Hughes, and today we're talking about National Night Out, an annual event that promotes police-community partnerships and neighborhood camaraderies to make our neighborhoods safer, better places for us all to live. We're excited to have a couple of residents joining us who've already told me that they have these things. So please welcome Mr. Tico Wallace from Lamrockton neighborhood and Ms. Barbara Washington from Random Woods. And also with us is Officer Ben Wingfield, who is a community resource officer. Welcome to you all. So we were talking earlier about what National Night Out is. You guys obviously already know, right?
Yep. We've been doing National Night Out in our community probably for the last 5 years, and it's really worked well. And one of the things that it's done for us, I've gotten calls afterwards with people driving down the street. We always have it in my front yard, and it works real well. And people call and say, hey, what was going on up at your house?
Yeah.
And I'll say, well, that was National Night Out. Oh, well, what's that all about? And we've actually been able to pull some people in from that. And it's just worked out real well for us.
So you're happy with what you're seeing now?
Oh, very much.
Okay.
Very much. A lot of participation. For example, the fire department comes. I always ask for the fire department, and they come. And we're in kind of an aging community, so the fire department is usually first responder for a 911 call. And the fire department's been in a lot of our homes. So it's good to meet these guys
Yeah.
when you're not in a crisis.
When they're not there to take you
yeah,
away.
and, hey, how you doing? And so it's just worked real well for us.
Now, where's your community?
It's right off of Vandalia and Pinecroft. And it's a small community as far as communities go, but it's just really worked well for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
Now, tell us about yours, Ms. Washington.
Well, what we do, Sandra, each year we have a hot dog dinner for our community watch, for our National Night Out. We invite officers as well as the fire department, and we have a lot of our members of the neighborhood that come out and they just fellowship one another, try to get out to know our neighbors, and talk about things that are going on in our neighborhood and how we can make our neighborhood safe. And it's just a really good time for us. You know, we have a monthly community watch meetings. So during those times, it's structured meetings. So we can't just sit down and talk and fellowship like we really want to. So that time is really, it's like a family reunion. That's the way I feel when we really have our National Night Out.
That sounds cool.
Yeah.
And as an officer, you participate in these, right?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
What's it like?
For me, it's actually a great opportunity to go out and meet people that live within the community that I serve. And in my role as a community resource officer, I'll go to different sites and I try to get to as many as possible just so that I can meet as many people. And every time I have a experience at one of these National Night Out, I've always been more positive and uplifting experience to see that many people involved and active in their community.
Can you really see a difference in you meeting these people or not, or the ones that you don't know?
I do believe that there is a better difference in seeing these individuals in person as opposed to just having them a blank name, or because whenever you're dealing with the community, as long as there's a name to a face and we get to meet those individuals, there's a particular ownership that comes from that community with that officer and that officer with that community, so that we are no longer necessarily stewards of that community as much as we are also members of that community.
Yes, yes, that's right. And the purpose of this show is building bridges. Do you feel you're doing that?
Yes, every day I feel like we're just building one more stone in that bridge of that foundation for the community, and that our goals through each individual National Night Out, and it seems like every year it keeps getting bigger and bigger, and we keep pushing and pushing for that to get larger, because we definitely need that active role in the community on the other side of that proverbial river, building its way to us also, so that we can better service everybody.
So when something happens perhaps in your neighborhood, they say, let's call Ben, or let's call Officer Wingfield. Is that right? Instead of saying call the police.
Well, and yes, there's very much a lot of that as a community resource officer, where you develop that individual basis, because when we go to these events, I hear these stories from an individual basis about one particular person who may have an issue that may go beyond just a simple 911 call solving that issue. Because there's some things that go beyond just 911. It may even be outside the scope of what a normal officer can do answering a call. It may be something for me to utilize some resources that I've accumulated over time and see if I can't help that individual person.
That's great. I mean, you're developing relationships with these people. Yeah. So is that what you try to do in your neighborhood? I know the National Night Out is a good party time, so to speak.
Well, National Night Out, it's a good relaxed time, but it's built around the community. And the definition of community used to be, you know, everybody looked pretty much the same. A lot of them worked in the same place. They all had kids, and that's all changed now. We're in a very diverse community, and it's just been a great experience for us. For example, I had a lady. We had this was prior to our first National Night Out, and we set up a little buffet in the living room, so people go in the house, and there's a restroom in there, and all those things. Anyhow, a lady was coming out, and she kind of paused at the front door, and she was African American. And I said, is something wrong? She says, you know, I've never been in a white person's house before.
Oh my, are you
and I
serious?
said, well, what'd you think? She said, just like anybody else's house. I said, that's right.
Yeah, all the same.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
great. So how's your National Night? Is it growing?
It is growing. I can tell each year we're getting more people to come out. We had our first National Night Out at our community park, in our neighborhood park, and it wasn't as big as it is now. We're having it at our neighbor's house, and so we're seeing a lot more people come out. They invite different neighbors to come out, so it's growing. It's definitely
So
growing.
how do you put all this together? Are you the one who puts it together?
I am the person, I organize our meetings for our community watch meeting. So our last meeting that we have, I usually, at that meeting, I ask for donations, who's going to bring what we're going to do, where we're going to have it. So each year the hot dog thing works pretty well, and they usually come out because they like the homemade pound cakes and the desserts that we have.
Now, that would get me there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it is really fantastic. I'm really proud of my neighborhood, what they do. They come together, and they're committed. They're committed that they want our neighborhood to be a safe place for everybody that lives there. So we're working together with our police officers, our firefighters, and all the elected officials to make that that happen for us.
That's great. Hot dogs for you?
Well, we have I like to delegate, and I feel like the more people that have a dog in the fight, the better it is. And we have people that take care of spoons and forks and the plates, and they bring those. And then we have some people who go to local restaurants, like the can I say Papa John's Pizza?
You could say it.
And they always donate some pizza. And then there's a great restaurant around the corner, and they always donate a big casserole. It's just wonderful. So we have different people that are assigned different things, and they like that. You know, it's better than just showing up.
So everybody has a part in it.
That's right. And some of the people, we've lost a few of the people. Like the person that used to do the knives and forks, she would call me like weeks ahead of time. Tico, I've got the forks, I've got the knife, and she would kind of report in, and that was one of the things that she did. And she's gone now. So we have another lady who's stepped in, and it works good.
Yeah, gonna be the fork lady now.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So what kind of things do you see when you go around to different National Night Out activities?
Every National Night Out, I will say, varies and runs the gambit. Some folks keep it as simple as just icy pops in a cooler.
Oh.
And that's fine. We just enjoy the fact that people are out there trying, belonging to the community and participating. Because recently we've had folks who've dropped out of the National Night Out that are starting to resurge and come back into the fold, and they are participating, and they're starting off small. I was told in the past there used to be large gatherings, and they just fell apart over time, but as they built up, they have to build up and take steps. And then I don't want anyone to ever feel bad that if their National Night Out only contains icy pops or an ice cream social, that is just as fun and just as great as having sort of a potpourri of different items involved there, because our goal really is for the community to get together and to know one another and to share what's going on with their individual selves, so that the community itself sort of bonds and grows together, because when they are bonded and grown and knowledgeable of one another, they are a better community for us, because they know what's going on in their neighborhood and can communicate better to tell us what's happening around them.
So what's the most elaborate National Night Out you've ever seen? Any of you?
I've heard of some of them having actually like the bouncies there. They have for
Oh,
the
for the
kids,
children, yeah.
to do that type of stuff, and just big going out, way out celebration for National Night Out. I
so-
hadn't got there yet, but we'll be there soon.
So you collect money from everyone to
Well,
do
we
that?
do not collect money. We
Oh.
we just volunteer, you know. They sign up to say, well, I'll bring hot dogs, I'll bring baked beans, I'll bring slaw, I'll bring the knives, the forks, the plates, you know. And we just come together and just bring what we have and drinks and everything, and just enjoy what we have.
Now you guys are making it sound really easy, but I'll bet it's not that easy, is it?
Well, you know, Officer Winfield touched on one thing about a lot of them are dropping off, and it's very hard to keep the interest alive in a community watch group. And we have made great strides in terms of we hardly have B&Es anymore. We used to average 1 or 2 break-ins a month, and average attendance at our meeting used to be around 35, which is like a home run. And now we're down to about 20. And it's difficult to keep the interest going. And of course, people move, new people come in, and those things happen also. But National Night Out's a good shot in the arm for us. So it works well.
So from your perspective as an officer, tell our viewers what the main reason you think we ought to have every neighborhood should have a National Night Out.
I think every neighbor should have a National Night Out, because it basically develops that fellowship within the neighbors. And just touching off earlier is that break-ins that go up, a lot of folks will develop that we need a community watch, but then as things get better, it falls apart. And that's where National Night Out is great. Those new neighbors that come in that don't know exactly the past with the neighborhood, they see that and say, this is a fun, great neighborhood for us to be involved in, and they come out and they get to know their neighbors.
So we're talking about National Night Out because it's going to be which date?
It is going to be Tuesday, August 2nd, which is the first Tuesday of the month.
Okay, and so how do people, do you have to sign up your neighborhood for it? How does that go?
We have an online application. You can go to gsopd.org and go to the website. There should be links up there. You can pick your neighborhood and then submit that application electronically. Or you can call the Office of Community Engagement. The number is 336-373-2363.
One more time.
336-373-2363.
Okay.
And contact them, and they will also set up getting that community National Night Out set up.
So don't just go have a National Night Out gathering without letting the police know, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. We I sign up really early because I don't want to get it lost in the day-to-day activity. So I sign up really early so that I can make sure that we're signed up. We got officers and firefighters and people to come represent, and that we just have a good time. I just encourage everybody to have that. I use that as a avenue to invite people to our Community Watch program so they can come out and learn different things, how they can make our neighborhood safe and how they can be safe as well.
So is there a deadline for signing up for National Night Out?
They usually prefer to have it in no later than, I believe, 2 weeks prior. I will say sometimes if we get a late application in, we will do our best to allocate resources. It's best to have this in as early as possible, simply because we try to make sure that we have officers go to every event.
And quickly, one of the kickoffs is what, the 16th of June?
It is
And that
July
is-
16th. Yes, ma'am. It is at the Skateland on North Church Street. Unfortunately, the address escapes my memory at this moment.
It's
but
right there near
from-
the corner of Church and Pisgah Church.
Yes,
or
ma'am.
Leaf Chapel.
And it's between 10:30 and 1:30. The applications are going to be out there to sign up for it. It's also information on how to even set up your own community watch if that's what you're interested in. And many of the CROs will also be out there too, just engaging the community. It'll be a fun time. Guilford Metro is going to be out there with the fire department. There's probably going to be some skating going on.
That sounds like a fun party right there.
It's a blast,
Yeah.
and anyone who comes out usually always has a great time.
It sounds like it to me. I'm getting my roller skates ready now. But thank you all for coming today to tell us about that. I had never participated in one, but I'll be there sometime this year doing something with someone. I think it's great. Thank you all very much for
You're
joining us.
welcome.
This was wonderful. A great way to build bridges. Yes, it is. Well, National Night Out. Who knew that one evening of coming together with your neighbors could have such a lasting impact in a community? Thanks to all of you for sharing your experiences with NNO. Hopefully you have encouraged other neighborhoods to celebrate on August 2nd. And if you want to make your neck of the woods safer, then while building bridges with your neighbors and the police officers who patrol your area, organize a National Night Out event. As you heard, the event can be big or small. What's important is that you get to know the people who live around you. To find out more, you can contact your community resource officer or visit www.gsopd.org. Until next time, I'm Sandra Hughes. Be safe.
This show was funded in part by the Greensboro Police Foundation, an independent nonprofit organization whose mission is to enhance Greensboro's economic strength by promoting the safest city possible for its residents, workers, and visitors through support of the Greensboro Police Department. For more information about the Greensboro Police Foundation, visit www.greensboropolicefoundation.org.